Hello, hello. It's Sanaa, Chief Girlfriend at HR Girlfriends, and I have an amazing guest tonight. Don't I tell you all my guests are amazing? Um, I have with me Arielle Davis, and you may be thinking to yourself, Arielle Davis, who? Right. The point is that you need to get to know who Arielle Davis is, hence why she's here. Arielle and I have been fortunate enough to be acquainted through some entrepreneurs and HR folks in a community we both are connected to. And I was talking to her a couple of weeks ago at dinner, and she started talking to me about her journey, and I was like, oh, Arielle, there's so many people that need to hear your journey because there's a lot to be gleaned from that. And so she has been so gracious to do this because I know that her nerves are shot. So I want everybody to be kind, invite your friends to the live so she has more eyes, so she knows that what she's saying is not falling on deaf ears. And without further ado, we have Arielle.
Hi, how are you?
I'm
It's
good.
Arielle.
Arielle, I'm so Ari no, don't. It's perfect. Arielle, get me right.
Yeah,
Arielle, I'm Sanaa, so I should be super sensitive to pronunciation,
no,
and I am.
it's okay. It's funny. I think you and I spoke about this for a long time. I wouldn't correct people, and then my mom gathered me one day, and she said, it's the most precious thing a mother can give a child is a name. How dare you not correct them on your gift? And I'm like, wow, okay, mom, sure.
Okay. Mommy said, "Listen, I spent time on
Right.
that. That was thought." Right?
That was thought, right?
Absolutely. So, Arielle, we're going to go through tonight. So, I want to go ahead and get started so people can get some of the good content we have going. Um, so tonight, Arielle and I are going to have a conversational communication about what we're calling a dream deferred. So I want to make sure that you get a little bit more information about what we're exactly walking into. And Arielle has an awesome quote that if you know Langston Hughes, then you know what happens to a dream that is deferred. And she talks about it is never too late to accomplish your dreams. It's been nearly 20 years after she initially set her goals and was discouraged from completing them. The definition of defer simply means to postpone until a later date. Don't give up your dreams are waiting for you to accomplish them. So I want to give people context who are watching. Let's talk about this deferred dream. Take me back to the moment you discovered what you wanted to do and what college you were going to.
Um, so this happens in a couple pieces. When I initially came out of high school, I went to, like many 18-year-olds, I was just kind of uncertain about what I wanted to do. So I started in community college. And well, no, let me take that back. I did know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a broadcaster. And that first semester that I went to school, I found out I was expecting my daughter. And so here I am, fresh out of high school. I'm expecting a child. I'm still trying to navigate life and figure out what I want to do. And I knew that um, broadcasting would not be ideal with a newborn, with, stories, having to scoop stories in the middle of the night or whatever the case is. So I changed it. Skip a few years later. I put it down. Went to work full time. I was a mother full time. And then I enrolled at Hampton University. And by the time I got to Hampton University, I had worked for a few years. And I realized that I had a love for people, process, procedure. And the jobs that I had, I was fortunate enough to kind of work in the HR office, human resources, and just really found a love with so many of the facets of HR. So when I went to Hampton University, and funny story, I was just sharing this with my sister tonight. My entrance essay was titled "A Dream Deferred" then as well. So this has been something that's been traveling with me for a little while now.
Wow.
Um, So I enrolled at Hampton University and I chose a major in human resource management. I had done some research on it. I have worked in it for a little while, and I realized that this is where I felt like I had a strength. And probably 2 years in, I had a check in with my advisor, and she was coming from a good place, but ultimately ended up giving me some really bad advice. She told me, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said Hampton University, but I mean, it's out there now.
Don't worry, don't
she,
worry. She probably is not watching this.
um, she sat me down and she kind of talked to me about my goals, what I wanted to do, what an advisor is supposed to do. And she said, I really don't want to discourage you. However, I think you may be embarking on a dead end with human resources. In 10 years, you're not going to be able to find work. These jobs are being outsourced left and right. I would hate for you to start to complete this and feel like you didn't get what you came for. You're not going to be able to utilize what you're studying here. And so, of
Wow.
course, the ultimate goal, with having a child and a family, my husband and I were still young. I was career. The goal was to have a career, so I took what she said to heart, and I changed my major to business. And I found that I had a little knack for business. I did, but it didn't ignite the same passion that HR did. So I'm at Hampton. I am now a business management major, and just not having that same fire and drive that I had when I was pursuing human resources. And then I ultimately was offered a position as I think an assistant manager at the time for a retail company, and I left Hampton and I took that position. And then I just started the ascension up the retail management ladder.
Well, it's interesting because when I heard this story at dinner, you may recall I had a pretty strong reaction going, what bad advice? Because anyone watching this knows that HR, yes, there are things that are outsourced, but even those opportunities still extend jobs and employment to people like you and I. So when we think about our conversation and dreams deferred, I was like, we have to start with the story of Hampton University, um, as I'm sure that your alma mater, you would what is that? The real HU is what they call it.
Yes, the relate to my home by the sea.
Look, check it out. I am not betraying my Howard folks. Hi, look, but I just want people to understand that everything in life is a journey. And we can always look at things hindsight, but I just wanted you to share that because it's going to be important to how we move forward in our conversation tonight.
Okay.
So tell us all about who you are and what you're going to talk to us about tonight.
Okay. Well, again, my name is Arielle Davis. I wear many hats, as I'm sure a lot of you do. I am a wife. I'm a mother of two. I'm a full-time student currently. I I've had a pretty decent journey in retail management. I found that I really had a knack for leadership. Um, I I'm not sure what else to say. Those are
No, that's okay. We're not going to let your nerves get the best of you. I mean, I just want people to know who you are and I'll give them
okay.
direction. We're talking tonight because Arielle is studying human resource management in her undergraduate degree. The degree she started back at Hampton University, the one where she was told that in 10 years, and what year was that you were told that?
That had to be 2010.
So in
So
2010,
exactly 10 years.
she was told that in 2020 there would be outsourced HR jobs and there would be no opportunity for her. So she was encouraged to go do something else. And in fact, she did. And there was a journey between obviously starting school, stopping so that you could live life and raise children and have a family. But, fast forward now, you'll be finished this summer with your HR undergraduate. And
Yeah.
I just want to inspire people who have these journeys that aren't linear, like this is what our conversation is about tonight, Arielle, is how do you stay focused? How do you collect yourself and how do you motivate and stay goal focused when you have all of these detours? Because even right now, with what we're dealing with COVID-19, that is a huge detour for people.
It certainly is. It
Absolutely.
certainly is. It certainly is.
So let's talk about your career choice.
Okay.
And I asked Arielle to talk about some of these philosophies she has around HR. And I think it's so fresh and so refreshing that she has these concepts that she correlates to what I consider pop culture or real life things. So, walk us through your idea of leadership.
So my ideal leadership, I think like many new leaders, I kind of went in thinking that I had to lead with an iron fist. And even in that as an oxymoron, because if you're leading, then you don't need an iron fist because people are going to follow you because you are setting the example.
Mhm.
And I remember initially coming in and having my team. I think this was maybe my second or third team that I had to myself at this point, and I had pretty good success, but nothing. Not I hadn't really built that dream team. Like I could tell people were kind of just going through the motions and not really excited to come to work with me. It's like, okay, that's our manager, so we're gonna do what she says, but it's not like, yay, we're going to work.
Right.
Um, until one day, I had two assistants, and we were kind of just having a conversation. I think I was just kind of flustered with how things were happening in the background, and or with the staff, where I just, I was not able to convey what it is that I wanted to do or how I wanted to lead, because I was kind of living an ideal. And they said to me, it's so funny, you just really need to be yourself. What we see from you back here in the office when we have managers meetings, when we have leadership discussions, that's who they need to see. Stop, they pretty much encouraged me to stop trying to live out this idea of what I thought management was or
Mhm.
leadership was, and just be the leader that they knew me to be in the background, and not this persona or not what I was trying to present to the team. And so with that, I really took it to heart, and I came home and start kind of crunching out some things that were really near and dear to me, and that's how I kind of end up on the philosophies about being the leader that you want to work for. And one thing that I learned while managing and kind of developing these theories is that it's not anything new. It's just how I kind of package them so that it makes sense to me. And if it makes sense to me, I can make it make sense to someone else. And so the first thing, one thing that I found that I had a strength in is being able to leverage the talents of others, which you absolutely need if you're going to be a leader, because you cannot do it all yourself. And that's where I kind of came up with the Captain Planet theory. And I think this is where you and I initially started talking. And that if you look at Captain Planet as the mission, whatever that mission is, whatever the goal of your business is, that's Captain Planet. But Captain Planet only comes out once they leverage the different gifts of the people. So for Captain Planet, it was earth, fire, water, air. And for me, whatever it was, whatever talent my team possessed, it was my job to kind of leverage what they did well individually, so that collectively as a unit we could become Captain Planet. And once I did that, and it was kind of one of those things that you say it, you don't know how it's going to catch on, but it caught on so well that that year alone, my team went to like #1 district, and I was called to mentor other leaders in my area based on what was happening at my location. So that was the first kind of ideal that I really took it, I guess, honed and really made my own, and just really leveraging what people do well, no matter what it is. If, I mean, this is something minute, but if you think you have, of course, everybody has to do the job description is the same across the board, but there are certain things that people accelerate in more so than the other ones. And those are the things that you kind of want to look for, because those are people that you're going to lean on. So you want to leverage those talents with the other so that they all have those talents. And when there's a mistake or something that needs to be done in that area, you can lean on that person to kind of drive the team, and then everyone's involved. You know, you have their buy-in, and once you have a buy-in, once someone feels like you know what they do well and you see them, they work that much harder.
That makes so much
And
sense. Yeah.
they really do. It's like, oh wow, I knew I can do this, but she thinks I can do this too. Oh great, I'm not gonna let her down. I want to make sure that I'm the best at whatever that is. And I mean, it caught on like wildfire. Even out of that first location that I had maybe, I think it was 5 or 6 promotions into leadership out of my door alone
And
that
so
went
this is in
on.
retail, right?
This is in retail. Yes, because I
Right.
left HR.
Mhm.
Remember, we had that unfortunate experience.
Yes. You left the idea of HR. You hadn't even really gotten in good,
No,
right? You're right.
still
You
in my
just left.
I was still in my undergraduate. I mean, my the first 2 years of my degree, so I hadn't even gotten into my major courses yet.
I know. And so tell me this, one of the things I thought was interesting about our conversation and what prompted me to have this conversation with you live was that I know there are a lot of people that want into HR. It's a very high demand career field. And a lot of individuals are having challenges with how do they take the existing experience they have and help people see that they are cut out from the same cloth as they are, i.e., meaning they can do HR, and that it doesn't matter if you have retail experience. Because if someone just came in on that conversation that you and I were having and they didn't hear the beginning part, they would honestly probably think you're already kicking butt in HR, right? Like to me, that when I'm listening to you about your leadership philosophy, I went, oh, but no, you garnered that from doing retail leadership. And so I just want to know, like, sort of like, what do you say to someone who's coming out of an entirely different field, trying to translate their skill set into the HR setting?
I would say you're probably already doing the task associated with it, particularly if you are working directly with people, if you're on a team, managing a team, you're when you're dealing with people, human resources is the management of human capital.
Yeah.
So you're already kind of in that field, and it's just a matter of kind of taking, to your point, what you said, taking what you're already doing and transitioning it over. Like for an example, just with the back office piece, or the paperwork piece, which is some of the things that, or I guess some of the first things that people associate with HR, which is, we know that it's far more than that. But even doing the back office stuff with making sure the files are right and making sure the laws are being adhered to, and making sure that you have the proper verbiage. Those are all HR functions that you're already doing because it's mandated by the state. So kind of looking at those, I don't want to say minute, but those necessary things, and aligning it with what you're already doing. Does that make sense?
No, it does, absolutely.
Okay.
And it's really just trying to make sure that you understand that really all experience is valuable. I mean, it doesn't mean that you can get off of driving the Amazon truck and then jump into HR, because you are
No.
studying HR, you are doing those things, but
Yeah.
really being able to translate the skill set. And I think that that's most important to keep people encouraged, is that there is no experience wasted as long as you can
No.
make sure that it has a carryover and that you're leaning on that experience.
Yes, absolutely. And I would say that our friend, the one who introduced me to the group, Tamika, she actually helped me even more so. Um, to your point, kind of leverage those skills where I was kind of, even how I even got introduced to the group was I was telling her, I was like, I'm kind of nervous. I'm embarking on this whole new thing. I just felt like I had all of these professional deficits that weren't gonna equate. Not that I wanted to give up. At this point, I'm on the course, I'm going to get it done. But, I have all these, I felt like I had these professional deficits that was going to just take me that much more to get into HR. And when I began to talk to her, she was like, actually, no, you're already doing it. And kind of, open the landscape so that I can see. I'm like, oh, I guess that does make sense. She was like, no, you are doing it. You've done it all over your resume. You just didn't know how to word it. And so having someone in your corner like that is also a great thing to kind of help you see broad picture, to your point.
Absolutely. And I will let people know who are watching that Tamika is a career coach and also a resume writer. And so, as you're looking, whether you're in the field of HR already or looking to transition into this field or whatever field, it is really prudent that you not pretend that you have the right skill set to write your own resume. I know no one knows better than you what you've done, but someone else, more particularly someone in that field, is going to be able to tell your story better. And so most of us are not storytellers. In fact, I have no shame. I have written resumes for myself way, 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 way back. But after graduate school, I was like, oh no, I'm paying someone to do this. That was an investment in myself, right? Like,
Absolutely.
and the first job that I had received with that resume, well, the second job, I got high comments and compliments on the style and format from the CEO of the company who did my second run interview. And I was like, that almost 200 bucks paid off. You know what I mean? So,
Absolutely.
and I
Well
got the
worth the investment.
Yes, well worth it. So I encourage everyone to definitely look at you leveraging the skills of others, and HR is a great place to go. Now, I also want to say all HR people do not do resumes. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. All of us do not do resumes. And I know that you have family members in HR, and I know you think we know all the answers and we know your industry. Be kind to us. We know what we know, but most of us don't like doing resumes, but there are tons of us that do, and you can just find them and get going on that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your managerial theory. So you
Okay.
talked a little bit about Captain Planet, and
Yeah.
as you're bulleting here, talk to me about what the thought process is and your subpoints.
Um, Inclusion, empowerment, intentional is what I was speaking about before. By the bullet points actually kind of they're codependent. You leverage the talent, and then you automatically foster inclusion. So now, instead of me dictating to you what the plan is, you are now a part of the plan. So now that you are included in the plan, you're now empowered to push the plan forward, and you become intentional about the things that you do.
That makes
It's all
perfect
about,
sense.
oh, okay.
No, no, no. I listen,
um,
don't worry. Look, I'm nodding my head, so because I get it, it makes sense. And some of this, even seasoned HR pros have to be reminded of this. You're going to notice that when you enter into the HR field, you're going to see webinars that have similar topics. You're never going to get enough, and you may feel like, oh, I've already been to one like that. I always challenge you
no,
to say, okay, but you didn't hear it the way that person said it.
yeah,
So we're always reminded about emotional intelligence and feedback and
yeah,
diversity and inclusion and how to lead with your heart and how to lead from a place of authenticity. And
yeah.
I just love the whole Captain Planet deal because, first of all, I don't have kids. Is that how you knew about this whole Captain Planet deal?
No, Captain Planet is a whole
I didn't
that's
watch
a
Captain Planet when I was a
old
kid. Mm.
cartoon. If I were to say that to my children now and they are 17 and 11, they would know what I was talking about. Captain Planet was around when we were younger, when we were kids. And I actually really used to like that show. And I was just kind of it's funny how it even came up. I was kind of just talking to one of my friends who was having some trouble at work. She couldn't get her team on board. And I start kind of asking her questions like, well, what does everyone do well? It's like, what do you think you do well? Well, what do you think your team members do well? And she could tell me what they did well, but she was drawing a blank or kind of running into a wall with how to push the mission forward. And it literally just kind of popped in my head. I was trying to explain to her what to do, but I realized she was missing, we were kind of missing each other. I wasn't saying it in a way, I wasn't conveying in a way that she could receive it. And I was like, oh, wait, like Captain Planet, remember that show? And she's like, yeah. I was like, okay, great. Let's start there. And then when I kind of built on that, she was like, oh, I got it. And I was like, oh, I'm actually going to take that home
Yeah.
and build on that.
But I need you to find a Captain Planet equivalent for all the generations. Now that I'm tasking you with that, girl, because like I want to be able. First of all, I'm an '80s baby, and I'm still like Captain Planet. I was watching like Thundercats and
It was
Strawberry
on around
Shortcake.
that time.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
yeah. I don't know.
on.
But when you said Captain Planet, I went yes. So basically, I'm walking out into my work environment as an HR leader, and I am utilizing and leveraging everyone at their maximum capacity. Then you pull out the big dogs, or then you pull out the other things. I think sometimes we're inclined to work backwards. We just to see the deficiency, and
Yeah. No.
we just right, so you just want to fill in the gaps. One of the things that's taught me how to lead, interestingly enough, is coaching. When I learned how
Yes.
to coach, it forced me to stop doing what most HR people do. And it's not that it's a bad thing, it's just that we can do better if we know better. I have learned to ask powerful questions. I've learned to be inquisitive, not accusatory. I've learned to dive deep without expectations of what the answer may be, because
That's
what
so
right?
important.
Because I may assume that you did something for certain reasons, and I could be way off base. Um,
No.
and
I
so
actually utilize that a lot. Walk me through when this happened, walk me through what was going on. And then you put yourself in that position. It's like, oh, okay, I get it now. I see why you did that. This may be a better way to get it done.
right. Have you rendered that same reaction before? Yeah. What did it reap you? Right. Sort of bringing people back. Because, the one thing I also learned from coaching is that we have our own answers, right? It's
Yeah.
we do, but we need guidance to get there. And, it's no different than when you go to therapy. Your therapist, I don't care how much you tell them about you, they're not living your life. No matter how much your
No.
boss knows about you, you're living your life and the way you operate. And it really is that you have the answers to what can you do to be better? What can I
Right.
do to help you perform at your maximum capacity? Um, and
Yes.
so it's all of those things, and also creating an environment where people can be authentically honest, right? Like
Yeah.
like this isn't for me. Sometimes
No.
people are managing and leading people down a path that nobody's being honest about.
Right.
Painful.
Right. That's where your emotional intelligence really plays. That's where the bottom 3 points come in. Bidirectional feedback. As I think you said it so eloquently just a few minutes ago. Ask instead of being accusatory because we have the answer to what's going on. Asking those questions and really being open to the same questions that you're asking and the directions you're giving, being open to that feedback coming your way as well. I always feel like if you're the only one who's coaching yourself, you're probably not getting the right advice. And I, the people who are closest to you, people that see you every day, things that we may have overlooked, they typically are the ones who are able to kind of say, hey, I don't know if you did this, or this was something that was happening, or something that I've observed. And you kind of think back like, oh, did I do that?
Mhm.
Wait, I may have done that, and then so now we're both bought into what's going on. So now I have your back, you have mine, we're leading each other. Ultimately, as a leader, you have a plan, you're driving the team forward, but you have to be open to it back in both ways. And that's where emotional intelligence comes in, because to your point, like you said just a few minutes ago, you cannot react to everything based on your idea of what should happen, because you'll lose
Mhm.
people. They can be offended, or not offended. That's not the word I'm looking for. You may miss them with the mission because they feel that they thought they were doing a really good job, and you may have alienated what they what they thought was going well. And because now they have this idea of you, they're no longer interested in what you have to say for
Right.
growth.
And that makes perfect sense to me. So please enlighten all of us. QTIP.
Quit taking it personal.
Ah.
So I actually borrowed this. I heard this on a TED Talk, and one of my co-managers, it was a manager at a different location. She was kind of rolling this out at her location, and after we watched the TED Talk, and I kind of took it to another level when it comes to feedback, and whatever that feedback may be, if it was a touch base for the week, just to kind of tell you where you were, what things I've observed, where you need to go, or maybe there was something, you see something, you say something, maybe there's something I need to speak to right away. I find that sometimes not everybody is receptive to feedback. I mean, that's just the nature of humans, right?
Yeah.
Like your
Yeah.
first instinct is to really be like, what? I didn't do that. So what I would do is I would, anytime I need to have a conversation, whether we're good, bad, or indifferent, I would hand people a Q-tip. I explained, obviously, in a team
Ah.
meeting, I explained the idea of what was going on, and I let them know, like, I'm not here to discourage you. I'm here to encourage you. I'm here to uplift you. I'm here to empower you. I'm here to put you on the right track. I can't do that unless you are able to receive what I'm telling you without offense. You can't take it personal. It's not personal. This is me looking out for your future.
Nice.
And once I said that, and I said, you know what, to kind of remind you every time we have a conversation, I'm going to hand you a Q-tip so that it's never a question going forward. This is not a personal attack because we already had the conversation of quit taking it personal. And it became this thing like, oh my God, I love that. And it made feedback so much easier. Of course, you still have your one-offs where sometimes you have to have really difficult conversations and they don't go as well as hoped. But I promise you, after Q-tip, and I use that in a couple settings that I was in after I initially rolled it out, it has not failed me yet.
Can I tell you, I love that. And so, it's interesting because there's so many thoughts rolling through my head right now. Like, you have a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of exposure and experience that is not directly related to HR, but it is so valuable. I am borrowing Q-tip, and going to figure out a creative way to do that. And go from there. It's like, look, everybody pick up a Q-tip because we're about to be real honest right
Where's your
now.
Q-tip? Yes.
Right. Quit taking it personal. And because everything is not about you. So I usually say that, right?
No,
When someone doesn't speak to you in the morning, it doesn't mean it's about you,
no.
at all, or whatever the case may be. So for anybody, you can borrow Ariel's borrowed Q-tip.
Put a
And
Q-tip in your bag. I
ab-
added the Q-tip piece. The concept I didn't create, but the
right.
actual walking around with Q-tips, that was me. I did
I love that. It's a visual, it makes sense. And once you get the
that.
buy-in from your team, everybody knows, like, quit taking it personal. That was
Yes.
feedback. That's because I want you to be better so we can be better.
Yeah.
So, yes. Look, talking about we need to do the pass the baton Q-tip. Like, how many times did that one Q-tip get passed
Yeah.
around? I know, right?
I
Um,
used to keep a little bouquet on my desk. Like, oh, you didn't bring in your Q-tip? No problem. I have one for you. Here you go.
love it. Ariel, this has been such an amazing conversation. First of all, I didn't realize we were already 30 plus minutes in because we've been
Oh,
having
wow.
such good banter. No, don't worry. This is like awesome.
Okay.
I want people to know that Arielle is a budding HR professional. She has her degree coming up in the summer of 2020. And this is the future talent of HR. And this is the kind of talent we all need and we all want. And I'm going to tell you how to find Arielle on LinkedIn. I'm going to post her profile and
Oh,
I'm also
no.
going to look at you, girl.
I
Yes.
know my profile needs some work.
Well, that's okay because you've been busy trying to get your degree, but we know
Yeah.
that you're gonna get this all spiffy and good to go when it's time because
Yeah.
you're not ready for a gig yet. But I think that this is what we should be doing, developing the raw talent that is entering and interested in HR. We need to get fresh perspective, and it doesn't matter where they're coming from or how they're coming, just know that everybody brings value. Ariel, this has been good.
Yay, I'm glad. Thank you.
How your nerves?
I'm good. I talked to my sister before I got on, and she said, you're not going to be able to see the people. And I was like, oh, I guess that's right. It's not.
Look, you wanna be like, "Where was your sister 2 months ago when we were thinking about this?" So, no, you won't see the people see you, but you can see their comments, so you can go and do that, and if anybody's looking to connect with Arielle on LinkedIn, I'll have her URL for her profile either up or below, depending on where you see this video. So, thank you so
Yes,
much
please.
again, and make sure you guys visit hrgirlfriends.com, where we have a COVID-19 resource list that is continuously being updated. It's got good quality resources, not just for HR folks, I promise you. It is for working professionals, moms, children. I really pulled this together because if anyone has heard me say this, we're more than our 9 to 5s. And so I wanted to compile a COVID-19 list that could support people in all aspects of their lives. So check out hrgirlfriends.com and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.